I think that in some fans' eyes, the pairing of Batman and Alfred is just as iconic as Batman and Robin. So for newer readers just joining Matt Fraction and Jorge Jiménez's run, you may be wondering where Mr. Pennyworth is. Well, if that's you, I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news. Alfred was murdered by Bane several years ago, back during the City of Bane storyline. His death has left a massive, unfillable void in the Bat family, so much so that Batman imagines having conversations with him. Not in a way that's concerning for his mental health, or at least I don't think so. And this is a shame because right now Batman is fighting a war on multiple fronts, and he really could do with Alfred's support and advice. Over on the vigilante side of things, Vandal Savage has essentially hijacked the GCPD, framing Batman for murder and weaponizing the police to hunt down the Bat family. At the same time, Savage has teamed up with a new villain, the Minotaur, who's optimizing the crime family's operations and transitioning them over to legitimate businesses to make them more profitable than ever before. That sounds like a lot for Batman to deal with, but to make matters worse, Bruce Wayne is a marked man in his civilian life too. In the last issue, we discovered that a secret organization, yes I know, another one, known as the Shadow Board had set their sights on him for refusing to compromise his morals in the name of the almighty dollar. They were the ones that hired the deadly raven-like assassin, the Ojo, to take Bruce out. However, after Batman and Robin defeated her, the Shadow Board decided to change tactics. They've now made the hit on Bruce Wayne an open contract, and 6 of the world's deadliest killers have just touched down in Gotham City to try and claim the bounty. With Vandal Savage on the prowl and an army of assassins at his doorstep, the Bat family is in desperate need of some backup. And luckily, they've just got a miraculous gift from beyond the grave. At the very end of issue 11, a mysterious stranger somehow managed to flawlessly bypass all of Batman's state-of-the-art home security just to ring the doorbell. That stranger was Verity Pennyworth, the grandniece of the late Alfred Pennyworth. Sent by another secret organization called the Society of the Midnight Key, she has arrived to fulfill Alfred's dying wishes and take over as the Wayne family's new butler. And she quickly makes herself at home and finds a friend in Damian. It turns out that Alfred had outlined his entire plan in his will, but Batman had been so busy that he hadn't had the chance to read it over. It fell to the bottom of his priority list, mostly because it would have been too much like saying goodbye. And as for the threat against Bruce Wayne's life, we're introduced to 5 of the assassins in this issue. There's the elderly Giftmorder, who is a poison expert, the masked Lord Fantôme, who deals with stealth and blades, the luchador Señor Sueño, which is really hard for me to say, who beats people to death with his bare hands, Vector, who plants traps, and Spider Black, who seemingly uses disguises, misdirection, and explosives. I have to assume that the 6th assassin is the Ojo, and it had better not be Verity or I'm going to be really cross. And Batman is aware of their presence, noting that they had come to Gotham within the last 72 hours. It's interesting that he seems to be keeping track of them, or at the very least is using surveillance to keep an eye out for people from his naughty list from coming to Gotham. And this is just one of many ethically dubious things that Batman does. And I mean, yeah, sure, putting on a cape and cowl, racing around the city in an atomic-powered bulletproof tank, and kicking the stuffing out of petty criminals as a whole is ethically dubious. But Batman addresses this later on in the issue, after he has dealt with some of his targets and locks them up in the Batcave. I find it really fascinating how Batman says that he is fully aware of how compromised he is, but he does what is necessary. He has always known that he is also a criminal. He operates in a quasi-legal and morally grey zone. He states that he has always known that the criminal he will deal with at the end of his crusade is himself. And he seems completely fine with compromising Damian and Verity, mostly because they believe in the same mission. Now, as for what spurs this conversation, Batman learns that 2 of the would-be assassins are in the same place. Lord Fantôme is trying to take out Giftmorder, effectively trying to remove the competition. They fight in the elevator of a luxury hotel, where Lord Fantôme has disguised himself as a member of staff. What follows is a really dramatic fight scene, which Batman then interrupts and prevents the 2 men from killing each other by kicking their heads in. When he tries to unmask Lord Fantôme, his mask releases an acid that starts to burn through Batman's glove, so he has to pull it off pretty quickly, and while he's distracted, Lord Fantôme slashes Batman's face, which was a terrible mistake to make. Batman proceeds to pummel his head, knocking him unconscious, and this leads to a very funny moment when the elevator arrives at the lobby, where a large crowd of people awaits. Batman advises them to wait for the next one. Now, what's interesting about this scene is that Batman wasn't expecting the assassins to go after each other. He thought he'd have to pick them off one by one, but instead they're fighting among themselves, which makes things significantly easier for him. While he wonders about what set them off, Verity chimes in and says that it was her idea. She didn't think that they knew they were signed up for a competitive contract, so she used an anonymous account to tip them off and set them against each other. Realizing the genius of her plan, both Batman and Damian emphatically say that she can stay. Now, before the issue ends, there are two other plot points that need catching up on. The first is with the Minotaur. You'll recall how he had disciplined the heads of the crime families after they started fighting with each other. He kidnapped their loved ones and executed them, reminding them of how much was at stake. Here, the Minotaur contacts the head of the Yakuza, Tozuki-san, to let him know that one of his men had tried to go into witness protection. When he asks for permission to kill him, Tozuki tells Minotaur that they both drive the same model of car, and that he noticed a fault with his. So perhaps the Minotaur should avoid driving until it can be serviced. Later, Minotaur is seen getting into his car, and it explodes. But don't worry, Minotaur fans. The real Minotaur is watching from above and says that it was fun while it lasted. This sounds pretty ominous, especially for the other crime families. Tozuki's intervention may have saved his skin, though. Given how Minotaur acted when they were squabbling amongst themselves, I hate to think what he might do to them now that they've tried to kill him. And the final point that I want to bring up is the Joker floating in his tank in Arkham Tower. Famously, Joker was fitted with the Crown of Storms, which regulates his madness. And in the middle of the night, he has a mystery guest drop by, which is impressive given the high security measures around his room. They note that they're here and they're not going anywhere, and all Joker can do is laugh. I have to say that for all the attention Absolute Batman gets, this Batman book has really found its stride. There's some incredible action, great fight scenes, and the plot has me hooked. Streamlining the focus to 2 or 3 plots really does the series a world of good, which makes it all the more disappointing that the next 2 issues are getting dragged into the line-wide Bad Seeds crossover. I've never been a fan of multi-book events that force you to pick up titles you wouldn't normally read just to get the complete story. It's why I stopped reading X-Men. It just kills the momentum Fraction and Jiménez have built up here, and frankly, it feels like a cash grab that disrupts the pacing of books like Poison Ivy. Do not get me started on how rushed that whole Mayor Isley storyline has been. I swear I could rant about that for hours. For that reason, I won't be covering issue 13 and 14, or the crossover at all. I will be buying it because I am weak, but I don't really want to give it any oxygen. If it ends up being excellent, you'll hear my apology when I resume my regular coverage with Batman number 15 in November, when the main storyline resumes. Regardless of the outcome, if anything crucial happens in the background, I'll bring you up to speed then. Matt Fraction has said we should expect the book to kick into overdrive with issue 15, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens then. In the meantime, stick around because I'll be back next week with videos about Absolute Batman 23, Clayface Celebrity Dirt number 2, and Barbara Gordon Breakout number 4. Special thanks to my channel members, the Back Issue Brigade. They helped to make this video possible. If you want to see your name on screen and get access to a bunch of exclusive videos, then join the channel now. Thanks for watching, everyone. Hope to see you next time.